SpaceX Starlink versus Verizon and AST SpaceMobile. The future of phones in space. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for Tea Time. Today we're coming to the end of some fireside. So good. Hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee as we hang out talking space, SpaceX, Starlink. I love Starlink. Linux, and of course we have some AI thrown in there. Today is going to be a DTC day because Verizon has partnered with AST SpaceMobile. They said, you know what, Elon, we're not going with you. We think that AST SpaceMobile is going to be a better bet for us. AT&T did the same thing. So we'll see what ends up happening with that for them. I was reading a bunch of articles about this. I wanted to bring this to your attention because it might be something that you guys might be interested in. If you already have service with Verizon or AT&T, especially with Verizon now, and you would like that DTC service, basically being able to use your phone on the top of a mountain somewhere where there's no cell phone tower anywhere, or maybe in the middle of the ocean or who knows where, you could use this. And you're basically using this to connect to a satellite. And that's how you make your texting or phone calls or MMS, SMS, all this type of stuff, video calls. It just depends on who you're using and what capabilities, functionalities they have available. So if you're looking for DTC, well, you could use currently T-Mobile. Or you could still use AT&T and Verizon and purchase a T-Mobile eSIM. And then whenever you get off grid, you just switch the SIM over from AT&T or Verizon to the T-Mobile. And now you can use that direct to cell through SpaceX Starlink's DTC satellites, which is kind of cool, right? But with this AST SpaceMobile partnership that's going on, you won't have to do that anymore, all right? They'll just offer you the service. And I'm going to get into it a little bit today, so maybe you get an understanding of the difference between SpaceX and what AST SpaceMobile is doing here. And I want you to be the judge. Do you think that this was a good move for Verizon and AT&T or not? What do you think? All right, down below, I'd like to hear from you. Also, if you enjoy this content, get anything out of it at all, please consider throwing the thumbs up. If you don't like it, throw it a thumbs down. YouTube likes it either which way. But a thumbs up's always nice. Makes me feel good. Also, if you haven't went over to my shop yet, go check it out. Go to JCristina.com/shop. Once again, JCristina.com/shop. Check out my merch. If there's something there you like, pick it up. Help support me and my family. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. If you have, thank you. I appreciate that. Click this little notification button over here so when I go live and when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. At least that's what YouTube says. If you want to give back to the channel, say thanks. There's a little thanks button right down there. Click on that. Give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, it's perfectly fine. The video's still free. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this article. I'll give you my commentary, and then at the end, I want to hear from you down below. And if you don't want to put anything down there because you're shy or whatever, just give me an emoji. Emoji. I don't care. Just a simple emoji. At least I know you're here. I would appreciate that. Verizon partners with AST SpaceMobile. Starlink faces competition. Verizon takes a giant leap into space. Verizon just made a major move in satellite communications that could reshape the industry. While most attention has been on SpaceX and Starlink's growing broadband network, Verizon has officially partnered with AST SpaceMobile, a company building satellites that connect directly to standard smartphones. No dishes, no special hardware, just a phone capable of 4G or 5G. Blue Walker 3 proves the concept. AST SpaceMobile has been testing this technology for years. Their Blue Walker 3 satellites demonstrated that voice calls and data connections are possible directly from space to a conventional phone. Verizon's partnership adds its vast spectrum holdings, network integration, and market research, advantages that SpaceX Starlink currently does not have. This gives Verizon a significant head start in space-based mobile coverage, does it? 5 satellites to launch first. AST and Verizon plan to launch 5 commercial satellites in the coming months, the first step in building a constellation that could deliver service as early as 2026. Investors have already contributed nearly $2 billion, and with Verizon's backing, that number is likely to grow quickly. The goal is straightforward. Provide coverage in regions unreachable by terrestrial cell towers, including oceans, deserts, and remote mountain areas. Sounds like SpaceX Starlink. Competition heats up in the US. This move follows AT&T's earlier partnership with AST, marking the first serious commercial push for direct-to-cell satellite service in the US. The difference between Verizon and SpaceX Starlink is notable. SpaceX Starlink's direct-to-cell solution relies on satellites working in conjunction with T-Mobile's spectrum. Verizon and AST aims to integrate the mobile network fully in space, reducing dependency on terrestrial infrastructure. Starlink faces its first real rival. For SpaceX, this represents the first major competitor in the direct-to-cell market. While SpaceX Starlink has scale and launch cadence on its side, Verizon's existing carrier infrastructure and customer base give it a strong operational advantage. Analysts suggest that this could accelerate the timeline for true global mobile coverage and force SpaceX Starlink to respond with faster deployments or enhanced partnerships. Will they really need enhanced partnerships with the spectrum that they just bought? I'll get into that in just a second. The future of phones in space. In short, Verizon just entered the space-based mobile sector in a big way. This isn't just a new network, it's a strategic shift that could redefine how billions of people connect when they are off-grid or traveling worldwide. SpaceX Starlink's monopoly on low Earth orbit broadband is facing its first major challenge from a legacy telecom powerhouse, Verizon, of course. So let's just start out with the whole idea that they need this enhanced partnership. That might be the case in the past, right? Now they're currently partnering with T-Mobile. Why? Because they're using T-Mobile's spectrum. They need spectrum to be able to move this data across. Well, they bought their own spectrum, right? We heard about that. EchoStar, I did an entire piece on it. Maybe I'll put a link over here or something. I talked to you guys about that, where they bought a substantial amount of spectrum. So now they have their own. What that means is they don't need spectrum from Verizon or from AT&T or not even from T-Mobile because they have their own. The only thing that they need to do is make sure that the phones can communicate with the frequencies, the RF, the radio frequencies that they bought. That's coming. So in this case, the advanced partnerships that they're talking about in this article is kind of nonsense. They don't really need that. And if they would have just did a little bit of research before writing the article, they would have known that. SpaceX and Starlink ended up buying, I think it was like $17.5 billion worth of spectrum from EchoStar. It's a lot. So they're pretty good on spectrum. So I was looking at this a little bit. I wanted to see, what are these Blue Walker 3s going to look like? What are their footprints? How big are they going to be? What is their power? How, are they going to be better than what SpaceX Starlink is putting up there? Remember, Blue Walker, they're going to be putting up 5 satellites coming up before the end of this year, supposedly. These are the commercial versions. They already had some that were demos. And then they're going to go like 60 more, like in 2026. They have a much larger footprint, and that's why they don't need as many of them. So I was doing some research. I want to see how much bigger are these things. And they're just huge. I don't even know. Anyone that is an astronomer that likes to look into space, these things, you're going to be able to see them probably with the naked eye. All right, just to give you an idea, SpaceX Starlink's DTC satellites, they're basically the version 2 mini satellites, but they're retrofitted with eNode Bs. An eNode B is a modem that, let's say, transmutes the Starlink from a network providing, let's say, internet coverage to a network that is now providing cell coverage. So it's turning a satellite into a cell tower, in short. That's what the E node B modems are doing. Now there's also not only an E node B, but there's a G node B too that I usually don't talk about. The E node B is an LTE signal, whereas the G node B modems are for a 5G signal. But you don't need to know that. Extra information, as I always do, is I'm full of useless information. Anyways, what are these size difference? So those SpaceX Starlink version 2 minis that have or been retrofitted with those E node Bs, the size of them are 42 square feet. 42 square feet. That's pretty big. 42 square feet. You won't believe these Blue Walkers. These Blue Walker 3s are just under 700 square feet. 693 square feet to be exact. Not that you care. So you have 42 square feet to 693 square feet. Those things are massive. Holy hell. I'm telling you, I don't even know how those will be passed. But I mean, the amount of blowback they're going to get from putting something that massive on orbit. Imagine 60 of these things. I mean, you will definitely be able to see them with like binoculars at night or something. I mean, they will be massive, massive. I don't care how much black matte coating you spray over them, you're going to see them. You're going to see them. Trust me. Anyways, so you're talking about a major size difference. I then looked into the power. I'm like, okay, these things are pretty damn big. Is there going to be a difference in strength? Will the AST SpaceMobile be able to provide like DTC, direct to cell, better to your phone because they are so big? How much power are they producing? So because of the size and how massive they are, they're generating about 20 kilowatts of power, 20,000 watts of power. Whereas SpaceX Starlink's version 2 minis are generating about 105 watts. So you're talking about 20,000 watts to 105 watts. But what are they actually beaming? What are they beaming? So the AST SpaceMobile are beaming about 250 to 500 watts to Earth, whereas SpaceX Starlink is beaming about 50 to 100 watts. So it's about 2-3 times, let's say, more power. But here's the caveat. They're going to be sitting at about 600 kilometers in space, AST SpaceMobile, whereas SpaceX Starlink are down here at 320, 330 kilometers. So you're looking at 600 to like 300. You're about half the distance, let's call it. Close, not quite, half the distance. So what does that mean? They don't need to push as much power to end up with the exact same signal strength. Make sense? Right? So they're doubling their signal strength from the 250 to 500 or whatever, but they're also covering a larger land mass. Once again, they're only going to have 60 up there, whereas SpaceX already has like 700. You follow the disparity here, all right? So there is a major difference. So even though it has a massive footprint and it does produce 2-3 times more watts that's pointing at Earth, the same amount, or pretty damn close, is coming to your phone due to distance differences. So that being said, there's really not too much difference about this besides that you're going through AST SpaceMobile in comparison to SpaceX. Well, kind of, sort of. The big difference here is the amount of satellites. When you have 700 satellites right now, by the time they get those 60 up there, by the end of 2026, SpaceX Starlink will probably have about 1,400. Not 60, they'll have 1,400, right? Probably double by then. What does that mean? That means it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to get the best service possible. Whereas with those Blue Walker 3s, there's probably going to be an outer periphery where you're going to get worse coverage, then you'll get good coverage, and then worse coverage and good coverage, but there's not as many of them. It's covering, once again, a greater amount of landmass. Remember, guys, as you get closer to Earth, there's a couple of things that hold true. As those satellites get closer, number one, the speed goes up. That's the upload speed, and the download speed gets quicker. And your latency gets faster. lower latency. Okay? As you get further away, you get higher latency and you get slower speeds. The major difference when it comes to, let's say, longevity is satellites that are sitting at 300 kilometers compared to 600 kilometers. Well, they use a lot more fuel to be able to stay in orbit. Make sense? So whereas a SpaceX Starlink DTC maybe has a service life of maybe 3 years, 3.5 years, one of these AST SpaceMobiles, they'll be up there for probably 5-6 years. You see? But the difference here is the cadence. Cadence is everything, guys. They are constantly launching over and over and over. Sometimes they're launching 3 and 4 launches from the East Coast and from the West Coast all week long. Continuously. Whereas with the Blue Walker 3, they're going to be launching 5 like in the next couple of months. All right. It's a small amount. So when you see like a company like AT&T or Verizon go with AST SpaceMobile, it's a future bet. It's not something for right now. All right. It is for the future. They are trying to differentiate themselves from SpaceX Starlink. And are they doing it just to be different, or are they doing it actually to be better? That is the big thing. I hold myself accountable in situations like that. I am a contrarian, okay? I will not use Windows. I will use Linux. You follow me? I will not use Adobe products. I will use Affinity and other products that are alternatives. That's how I am. Does that hurt me or does it benefit me? In some situations, it hurts me. But a lot of situations, it benefits me because I don't have all the tracking and all the junk that's in Windows. And I also don't have to feed the beast Adobe ever again. So it just depends on how you look at it. In my personal opinion, I think that AST SpaceMobile is doing good here. They're making a lot of money, all right? A lot of headlines are going to them. People are spending a lot of money on them, and their stock has seen the growth. But in the end, I still believe that SpaceX Starlink will command such a lead that there's absolutely no way for any of these secondary providers, tertiary providers to be able to compete. They just can't. They just simply can't. It's almost like Globalstar with Apple. Apple is going to have to make a decision. Are we going to continue with Globalstar with this absolute shite service and give this to our Apple phone owners? Or are we going to migrate to SpaceX Starlink or possibly go down the AST SpaceMobile road? The problem that Apple has is Globalstar is complete shites, whereas they don't really like Elon Musk. So they don't want to go with Elon Musk, but then you have AST SpaceMobile that's not ready. It's not in commercial production use yet. So what do? They're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And we know that Elon Musk has a lawsuit that's going to be, I guess, litigated by March, I think, of next year, 2026. Why is that? Because Apple is forcing everyone to use ChatGPT when they're using Siri. Because we know Siri is a piece of junk. So Siri will be like, hey, you want me to use ChatGPT because I'm stupid? You're like, yeah, go ahead and do that. Well, why can't it be, oh, I'm stupid. Do you want to use ChatGPT, or do you want to use Grok, or do you want to use Perplexity, or do you want to use another AI or LLM? They don't do that. That's kind of illegal, right? Unfair trade practice, and that's why they're being sued. So it's going to be very hard for Apple to say, yes, I want Elon Musk stuff, while yes, he's suing us in March. It's a problem, right? So anyways, as far as the AST SpaceMobile, what say you guys? Is this something that you're interested in or not? Remember, and I've said this to you in the past, many videos, if you currently have Verizon or you have AT&T and you would like DTC service, once again, being able to use your phone on the top of a mountain or in the middle of the ocean, doesn't matter where you are, okay, or using a satellite, you don't need to have cell towers nearby. If you want to do that and you have a phone that has an available eSIM slot in the phone available, some phones give you like 2 eSlots, some 3. If you have one available, you can go to T-Mobile and buy an account from them so that you can have DTC when you need it, when your other service is dead. And that's all you have to do is go into your phone and switch from your provider currently, maybe it's AT&T or maybe it's Verizon, switch to T-Mobile and you will immediately have DTC. And it'll cost you about $10, $15 a month. I think it's like $10. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I know I had a lot of fun putting it together for you. If you did, throw the video a thumbs up like I said before and put something down here. If you don't want to put anything down there, put an emoji. I don't care, any emoji. Put a poop emoji. I'm okay with it. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay connected, hopefully through SpaceX Starlink, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you guys.